Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Office Hours. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Friday. I am a few minutes late here. I apologize. I actually went into the wrong Office Hours session in my, streaming system. I've got all these dates lined up, all these dates, and I got the date confused. Went into the wrong streaming session, so I've got another live streaming session. Happening someplace out there in the interwebs. So I'm confusing some people out there, confusing myself. Anyway, here we are. Happy Friday. Welcome to Office Hours. I have to warn you in advance, I'm under the weather. And so you're going to hear me with cough drops in my mouth and probably sniffling and pausing every once in a while to blow my nose. I apologize in advance, but we will get through it. So welcome, everybody. Alex, welcome. Steve, welcome. Welcome, Dr. Ahmed. AT, good to see you, sir. Bob, good to see you. Brandon, welcome. Lisa Johnson, welcome. Jason, welcome. Awesome. Good to see you all. We will get this party started here. I will first just let me go and check in my Moguls group, the paid mastermind community, to see if we have any questions over there that I can answer. Let's see here. Good morning. Quick question for you. This is from Michael Sommer. Michael, I don't know if you're on the call here right now. I don't see you checking in. So, Michael, your question says, as a former owner of an MSP IT company, what is your perspective on IT services as a vertical? Any best practices or suggestions around what type and size are the best avatar to go after? Great question, Michael. I do think that it is still a good opportunity. It is probably significantly more crowded than when I got out of it. There were the handful of significant competitors that I had then, but my guess is that there are quite a few more now. For me personally, anybody in developing an agency around HighLevel, that type of thing, I think that your best target audience is the small business market. So in the IT world, you've got everything from the one-man shop all the way up to the obviously like the Fortune 1000 kind of integrators and resellers and stuff like that. I think what I always aimed for in my IT services business was that I was always looking for businesses that had 10 employees to 50 employees. That was like the sweet spot for me. By the time a business had 10 employees, I found that they were mature enough, generating enough revenue that I could count on them being around. And then they also were developing the types of needs that I could solve. And then 50 was not a hard upper limit. We had a lot of customers that were well beyond that. But after 50, I found that in a lot of cases, they started developing new challenges, new problems that we were not ideally suited to solve. And so I have always stuck with roughly that criteria when selling to small businesses for the most part. Now, I think that with what we have with HighLevel, we can absolutely go after the less than 10 person businesses because we can set up a super automated service that's going to add a tremendous amount of value to those small businesses. Even the one person business, the 3 person business, things like that. They need help more than anybody, right? They need systems more than anybody. So if you're going that small, I think it's a perfectly viable opportunity. You just have to make sure that what you're offering is just very productized, very automated, not doing much custom anything at all or manual services at all. I mean, you're really setting them up with access to the system and then kind of leaving them alone to some extent to use the system. So, and I want to be clear, that does not mean just setting them up with the tools. Okay. Anybody's confused about my difference in the definition between tools and systems, please make sure you get clear on that. When I refer to systems, I'm saying the tools of HighLevel, but also that you've created marketing assets on top of those tools that help them take advantage of the tools. Campaigns, landing pages, websites, whatever it is, workflows, that you've set all those things up so that small business can just start using the system and taking advantage of it versus having to go in there and try and figure out how to set up and create their own assets in the system. Most small businesses are never going to get that done. So you're not just turning on the tools and saying, hey, here you go. You're turning on the system. So that means that you're doing some upfront work to design what that is. If you do that in that IT space, you can absolutely go after those little 3-person shops, 5-person shops, stuff like that. That industry, though, is a big enough industry, a mature enough industry. I would still primarily be looking for the businesses that are 10 employees or more because, again, they're going to have that stability of revenue over time. They've been in business for a bit. They're probably not going to just disappear on you. And when it comes to selling to small businesses, churn, right, losing customers is one of our most important metrics to manage. And there's a couple of ways that customers churn. One is because you've disappointed them somehow in your service, so they leave. 2, they find a competitor at a lower price and decide, okay, I'm going to go over there. But 3, and it's a very, very significant one, particularly if you don't manage your business correctly, is that 3 is those businesses just go out of business, right? A large percentage of small businesses just go out of business every year. So one of the most important factors in success in this business is just customer selection. Am I choosing to work with customers that are going to be around for the next 3 years, 5 years, right? Do they have some sort of track record? That makes a huge impact on your churn rate. Okay. If you cut your churn by a third because you choose customers that are actually still in business this year, next year, next year, next year, that's a dramatic impact on the bottom line of your business and the value of your business should you choose to sell it. Okay. Ed O'Keefe, my man. Good to see you, bud. Extendly. Ed, let me go ahead and type that in. Extendly. And they do setups. Yes, they do support. They have things like white label videos that you can get and put inside of your customer's interface, Ed, so that you can provide some training videos that you don't have to create from scratch, things like that. They have a good set of services, good company. Okay. All right. Let me start from the beginning. Alex, good to see you, sir. Do you have an updated R4 picture in the snapshot? I do not yet. Let's make sure. Actually, Alex, I have the R4 Surge to SaaS, which is the second R4 framework. That is in there. Absolutely. Yes. You got the updated image. If you're referring to the R6 that I'm rolling out, I have not released that publicly yet. I will be doing that very shortly. I'm just kind of chasing down some final steps with our team here to get everything set for you guys. Okay. So that'll be coming shortly. What's up, Steve? Awesome. Dr. Ahmed, good to have you here. What is up, AT? Good to see you. Bob, a question, please. Dealing with security issues with a client. They are all happy with what I have provided, but for one question, backup. How can they recover something that has gone awry? That's a good question, Bob. It's a question for HighLevel, because HighLevel obviously has some major data center presence and redundancy and everything that they're doing. I mean, they have some pretty world-class infrastructure at this point. But I do not know the details of that infrastructure. So you would have to check with them. And I'd be super curious. It's a fascinating question, only because I use software as a service tools all day, every day. It's funny. I don't think I've ever asked any of the software as a service tools that I use, hey, what are you doing to back up my data? I think I operate in this assumption by this point, that if a business is a credible online business, that their infrastructure is credible as well, and that redundancy and backup is all just part of that. Most of them are using Amazon in some form or another, Amazon's cloud services, Microsoft cloud services, where everything is automatically, mirrored around the planet and all that good stuff. But it's a good question to ask, high level, and I'm sorry, I just don't have the answer for that to you. But it's a definitely a good question. Brandon says, if upgrading HighLevel through your affiliate link, do you teach HighLevel workflows, automations, etc., or simply outline more of a how-to step-by-step business model implementation? Brandon, good question. So I really focus, I have focused almost all my time and attention thus far on teaching business model, teaching keys to success in that business model, and teaching sales and marketing and how to package your services correctly. Because to me, those are by far and away the most important factors to actually growing your business successfully in this space. That being said, the R6 that I'm about to roll out, one of the major reasons why I'm rolling that out is that I'm getting much more heavily into the showing you exactly how to do the service fulfillment, and I should say system fulfillment from my perspective. So I'm going to be providing a huge amount of workflows, a huge amount of campaigns, things like that in kind of a master snapshot that will to some extent, I hope, reduce the need for having to do too much teaching around workflows. And to me, that's really the only thing probably in HighLevel that you need to teach. I mean, everything else is just get in there and play around with it. I mean, it's, you'll figure it out. Workflows are sophisticated enough that, you can do some pretty amazing things with workflows if you're really committed to getting in there and learning how to do it. My philosophy on workflows, which I do have training on, is that they should be as simple as possible and that they should be as single purpose as possible. So in other words, you create a workflow to accomplish a specific thing. Once it has accomplished that thing or hasn't, as the case may be, it goes to another workflow, and that workflow has a single purpose. That is completely in opposition to what you will see a lot of people in this space do, where they show you this workflow that has 9,000 branches and all these if-then variables, and they try to impress you with that because it looks like, oh my gosh, look at that big, amazing monstrosity of a thing that they created that must just automate a business to the moon and back. And the reality is those things are almost always a disaster because they're so complex that you don't know really what the heck is happening. And if something goes wrong, it's very hard to track down. And if you want to make changes, it's very hard to make changes and know that you didn't break something. So I do teach the fundamentals of that in a training that I have. But again, my goal is to give you the far majority of what you need so that you can just do very minor tweaks and use it. Okay. Ways to make money. Awesome. I have a very good sales prospecting brand domain. I would like to start a business around it using Go HighLevel. Want to be sure I set it up properly from the beginning. So after a period, I mostly manage and have time for existing ventures. What is your advice, please? Awesome. I believe I know who this is. I'll follow up to our conversation. So nice to connect with you here. Want to set it up properly so that you have time for existing ventures, okay? For doing other things, right? So you want this business to be as simple as possible, run without too much of your effort and energy as possible, which I 100% appreciate. That's always a goal of mine as well. So it's obviously it's a relatively broad question because there's so many things that go into making a business easier to run, right? I mean, everything from how you're managing your finances to how you're, whatever. But let's just focus on HighLevel and the services that you're designing to deliver through HighLevel. First of all, most importantly, you want to stay away from doing anything that's custom and stay away from doing anything that's time based. Okay. So just the choice there of saying, I am not going to trade time for money, and I am going to productize my services so that I'm selling essentially the same thing over and over again versus crafting a custom solution for every business that I'm selling to. Just those decisions. And when I say decision, I mean, the root word of the word, right? To cut off other options, to just say, that is all I'm doing, period, end of sentence. Because I know that if I do anything else, it breaks my overall goal of trying to build this scalable lifestyle business that I don't have to spend too much time on. That is number one. Number two is it's got to be recurring revenue, right? Recurring revenue is the ultimate for lifestyle business because your life all of a sudden becomes much more styling when you know that on X day of the month or every day of the month, whatever it is, you're going to have thousands of dollars of revenue coming in versus having to go and hunt for that revenue every day for new revenue. So it's got to be recurring revenue. So in your service package design and design of the overall business, those factors have to be front and center, and you have to be incredibly disciplined about them. Okay? Give me 1 second here. I told you I had a cold here. I'll be right back. Sorry, sneeze attack. We don't want you to have to suffer through a sneeze attack. So the next thing is that, and kind of in the spirit of what I just described there, you want to create a system. So the opposite of selling a custom thing is to sell a system that you have pre-designed, productized, and said, this is the asset that I sell. As much as possible, I try to tell people to imagine that you are selling something that you have to put into a box on the shelf at Walmart. Okay? If you go into Walmart to buy something, you don't go to that thing on the shelf and go, hey guys, I'd like you to customize that for me. It doesn't quite fit. It's not the way it works, right? You either go there and you say, yeah, that's what I'm looking for, or you look for the next thing on the shelf, or you go to Target, right? The manufacturer of that product has to manufacture a product living with the reality that not everybody is a damn customer. Not everybody's going to like that we have these features on our product and not these features, and only comes in these colors. Every smart business understands that you can't be everything to everybody. You've got to choose how you're going to differentiate in the marketplace, and you've got to stick to it. And are there cases, of course, where you're getting enough feedback from the market that you say, hey, you're missing the target here with this product, you need to adjust? Yes, but you adjust at some sort of scale. You don't adjust for every single business that comes along and says, I want something different, or every single customer that comes along and says, I want something different. The biggest risk and challenge that service providers like us face is that you feel like, well, I should just be able to do anything. I mean, it's so flexible. I don't have a product on a shelf at Walmart. I have hustle and creativity and drive, and all of those things that have been sold to you, by awesome, well-intended motivational speakers and books and stuff that we all love. Those are all incredible qualities to have and apply strategically towards building your business and building your products and services. But when I say strategically, it's incredibly important to realize that with small businesses, they can't pay you enough to have you jumping through hoops for them. If you were selling to a Fortune 500 company that was signing a deal with you for 10 million bucks, jump through the damn hoops. But small businesses are going to squawk at you about paying 150 bucks for a thing, right? So you can't get caught in that game. Is there some customization that you're going to do with the setup of your system? Yes, but HighLevel has made that incredibly efficient with custom values and snapshots so that you can deliver something that feels really custom without having to go through nearly as much effort to create that experience for the customer. That's one of the core value propositions of it to us as an agency. So you've got to design a system, and that system, let's say, yours is prospecting. Here's what we do. We reach out to these leads that we've determined are qualified fit for what you're selling. We do this 32-step outbound approach. When we get a response from the customer, we have this intense chase follow-up sequence that we do. The goal is to get that prospect then booked on the calendar, or to fill out this form, or to sign this thing, or whatever. And then we hand that off to you, Mr. Customer, and you're responsible for the rest, right? That's where our line is. And here's our design of our outbound campaigns. And if you say you'd like direct mail in that, well, we don't do direct mail. So you can find another direct mail provider to work with, but that's not our thing, right? You've got to define your boundaries and say, here's what we do and how we do it. So that way you can just make this as cookie cutter as possible and make it just as repetitive as possible in terms of the service delivery. Your goal, all of our goals, and this is kind of opposite of the way most of us think as entrepreneurs, unfortunately. Entrepreneurs, we tend to like exciting things and new things. And I want you to have exciting things and new things in your life. But your business, your goal should be to make your business pretty much boring as shit, right? Like it's just a factory. It's kind of like the Henry Ford. You can have any color you want as long as it's black, right? You want your business to just be cookie cutter as possible in what you sell and how you deliver it. So those are really, really the key factors. So I would say just like getting into HighLevel and really understanding the system, the tools, but then understanding what are the variables that allow you to create that scalability in that system. And specifically, I'm referring to things like snapshots, custom values, custom fields, workflows, that you can just easily turn on for a new customer and say, voila, you've got this amazing new system working for you. Instead of turning on tools and then doing a whole bunch of custom rigmarole, or even worse, not turning on tools and just doing custom stuff. I'm just going to do a custom website design for you or whatever. And you're not getting them on the tools. You're not getting the recurring revenue. That's a huge disaster in that case. So I hope that helps you. And I'm happy to answer specific follow-up questions. Like I said, there's obviously lots of variables depending on the specifics of the model that you're trying to pursue. But generally speaking, those are kind of the major guidelines that I would give you as to how to do this successfully. Okay. I already answered that one. How would you compare Extendly versus HL Pro Tools? John, I think they're both, based on, I have limited experience with each of them. Based on the feedback that I've heard from customers out there in the marketplace, I think they're both solid, successful businesses, seem to be doing real well. I would ask that question to other members of our community, John, versus me. I think that you can get a better answer from somebody who's got, I know that there are members of our community who have worked with HL Pro Tools for months and months and months and months and months, and then decided, no, we're going to Extendly and we're happy there, and vice versa. And I think that you should hear the specific reasons they have as to why. Alexandra, no problem. Do you need your clients to use the Go HighLevel CRM? Ideally not for our niche, as they will likely be using other appointment booking software. So Alexandra, no, you don't necessarily need to. It really depends on the service that you're delivering. And as I was mentioning to the other gentleman that was asking the question about creating this scalable business, it's really about where you define your boundaries. So as an example, through HighLevel, and you mentioned the appointment booking software. Okay, so one thing I would want to know is, what are the limits of the appointment booking software that you're referring to, right? Because let's say that they're using Calendly for appointment booking. Well, Calendly is fantastic for appointment booking, but it doesn't have anywhere near a fraction of the total CRM capabilities that HighLevel does. So you could have them using a lot of these other components of this, CRM system, and then just have Calendly integrated into this and use Zapier or whatever, webhooks, that type of thing, to have the two of them communicate. There's a number of different ways that you could approach that. So if let's say you're going after a real specific niche and that niche is all using the exact same appointment booking system, I would just want to know really, really well, what are the limitations of that? So I can design kind of around it. And then two, how can I integrate with it, right? Is that Zapier, webhooks, whatever it is that I can pass information back and forth, ideally in an automated way between them. And then again, it comes down to the limits of your service. So just as a very basic example, you could say that the entire scope of your services is to put up really nice, really functioning websites that have lead capture, web chat, missed call text back, and reviews. And that could be the extent of your service. And other than the customer, getting into the conversations tab and responding to inbound leads and stuff like that, you could pretty much not have them access any of the other tools of HighLevel if you wanted to. There starts to be this blur of, where's the exact right place to kind of cut that off and say, okay, now you're using your other system, and here's how we're getting that data to that other system. But you can absolutely do that. I like to reference a friend of mine who has a very, very successful agency doing multiple 7 figures, super high margin. And all he does is web chat support for a particular niche. So that particular niche, he just puts a web chat widget on their website and just says, look, we'll just be your web chat team, so that we're making sure that we're responding to every opportunity that comes to your website and is looking to connect and ask questions and things. And that's all they do. And once they get that person into a conversation, that conversation then gets handed off to the business that they're working for, and they take that and put that into their CRM and all that type of stuff. But that's it. It's just the web chat widget, right? So we don't have to do everything with HighLevel. We can just say, hey, we're going to focus on this particular capability and this value proposition for our customers. And like I said, he's got a multi 7-figure business that's 7 figures, of margin for him, recurring revenue, super simple business to run. I mean, imagine that with HighLevel right now. Like, you've got all the templates in there for the communication. You've got AI now for the chatbot. Like, it's such a simple service to set up and run, but it's a great value proposition. His customers need it, and they're willing to pay for it. So, Alexander, I hope that helps. I mean, you can draw the lines where you want to, and just say, hey, Mr. Customer, like, this is where our service stops, and then we hand you the data, that type of thing. Ideally in an integrated way, So it looks like it might be the best way if you want to. Yeah, I mean, if you want to have that integration, right, like a true integration, it might be the best way. And you might have to, charge the customer something for that, that integration. Like, give them the option. Hey, we can do an integrated version or a non-integrated. And if it's integrated, we pass along the cost of the Zapier charges too. Could do that. Let's see here. Sorry. Let's see, Mara, we're looking for a great recurring billing system so that if a payment is declined, it retries every day and the client gets a text or email every day that until the payment is made. You could do that with HighLevel with no problem at all. Yeah, Mara, I mean, you can do that through HighLevel. Their payment capabilities and the integration of those payment capabilities into workflows, you can easily set that up in HighLevel. Yeah, Bob, definitely. R6, your new concept. I remember you talking about concept of R4. Yes, R6 is just it's a relatively small, simple, straightforward extension of R4, which I've had for a dozen years or more, that I am sharing with you guys here very soon for a couple reasons. One, I found in having conversations and selling the systems the way I want you guys to be able to sell the systems, there was some gaps in my communication in the R4 that were causing a little bit of friction with my prospects when I was talking to them. And I found myself getting into some more detail in that conversation than I had incorporated in the R4 framework. And that's why there's 2 more R's, because I was like, okay, well, hold on. There's this extra degree of detail that I find myself needing to explain over and over again. So I went ahead and baked it in. And the great thing about it is it creates a very smooth conversation all the way from your marketing down to closing the sale, where I've just created much more connection. And I'm sorry, closing the sale and actually delivering the service. So all the way from your marketing message all the way down to delivering the service, there's this real, just nice, tight connection now in all the messages. And getting your messages right is critical to marketing. It's critical to selling, and selling with confidence and making your prospect confident in you, giving them those insights that make them go, I get it. Yes, I want that. So I'm very happy with how it's turned out. And as soon as it's a little more fully baked here, I'm going to get it into your hands. Okay. What if the client already has a website? Yeah, no, there's no need to replace the website. I mean, if they already have a website and they're happy with their website, there's no need for you to replace their website. Just integrate with their website. Take the HighLevel opt-in form and embed it on the website. Take the call tracking number and put it on their website. Take the web chat widget and embed it on their website. Like, there's no reason to, especially if it's WordPress, that's just all crazy easy to do. So if they have a decent website and they're happy with their website, do not try to replace their website, or you're just going to cause friction for sure. Welcome, sir. Thank you for being so helpful. Awesome. Happy to. I want to ask you about missed call text back and getting phone numbers A2P approved for clients. I got approved, but the process, check my website to make sure people can opt in. Do you edit customer websites to add a form, or do you create a sample website to get them through? One, Extendly has a free snapshot. I want to make sure and tell people that, because people have so much success with that. Is that they have this snapshot that really takes through the whole process of getting that number approved. It's a free snapshot. So I make sure that you get that from them and kind of follow their process. People call business from Google My Business. There are no opt-in boxes. Yeah. Tobias, I would say the best thing is to, like I said, get that free Extendly snapshot and follow that process. In terms of doing some sort of editing for their site or creating another sample site, the only way I would create a separate site and try and use that for this process is if they didn't already have a website at all. But if they have a website, I would make sure and update their website. And hopefully, obviously, just very minor updates, so you're not, so you're not doing a bunch of, new work or custom work or anything like that. I would, but if they have an existing website, and I'm assuming that missed call text back is the only service here that you're selling. If you're selling a broader suite of services, then creating a new website for them may be ideal. And that may be part of your service. And if that's the case, then yes, I would just bake in all the best practices. If you're just selling missed call text back and you're like, Mike, I'm just trying to get this set up as fast as possible, I wouldn't do that. I would just try and make some simple edits to whatever they're doing to try and make it, pass. I would get the Extendly snapshot though and follow that. Awesome, Jason. Let's see here. Explain the new R6 on a whiteboard. A lot of head nods. I think it went well. And the close. How do you close in that same meeting? And how to close if you're in a meeting in the future? Awesome, Jason. I'm glad to hear that. Cool. Jason, you are welcome to get on video if you want to. I will put this. I will put the link in here. Anybody that wants to join me on camera to have a conversation, there is the link. But Jason, how do I close in a meeting? So I believe in, when you are selling these ongoing services to businesses, you're really selling a relationship. Okay. And that sale is the start of hopefully being a long-term relationship, right? We want to keep these customers for years. So I never do anything high pressure when selling, because I don't want to create a situation where somebody's coming on board because they're feeling pressure and then they leave 3 months later, right? Like, to me, I want to make sure it's a great fit. So if you believe in that philosophy as well, then during your conversation with your prospect, you should be doing everything that you can to set very clear expectations, answer questions very clearly, make sure they know what they're getting into throughout that conversation. And in my script, you'll see some approaches to how you do that. You'll see what I call the tie down and things like that. Upfront contracts, the tie down, question based selling. Those are all keys to what I'm discussing there. And then at the end of that conversation, then I close by saying, Jason, it seems like this has been a good conversation, and it seems like to me that we could be a good fit for working with you. Do you agree? And they say yes. And I say, fantastic. Well, I know that there were these couple of issues that were important issues to you to make sure that we could handle and that we clarified during this conversation today. That was issue number 1 and issue number 2. I believe that I've answered those for you and clarified, how we would take care of that for you. Do you think that I've done that to your satisfaction? You feel good with that? Yes, I do. Awesome. Are there any other issues outstanding that we didn't cover that you feel like we need to? No? Fantastic. Well, it looks like it's a good fit to work with you. We'd love the opportunity. When would you like to get started? And that's it. That's the close. Nothing more to it. And again, it's no pressure. It's very natural. You covered your bases during the sales conversation. You addressed the issues that were open. Now, Jason, you may get to the end of that conversation and have an open issue, and that's what the tie down is. Okay, so you get to the end of that conversation, and Jason goes, "Yeah, this one's still outstanding for me. Can you do this research to figure out how you're going to handle X, Y, and Z?" Yes, I can. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, so I will do that research and get back to you. Assuming I'm able to do that to your satisfaction, is there anything left outstanding that we need to cover that would prevent you from moving forward with the service? Nope. Awesome. Good. Well, then I have my homework to do. And I'm going to go get back to my office, talk to my team, and make sure and get that done. Let's go ahead and assume that I can get that done. Let's set up, just so I'm not chasing you down and harassing you like a typical salesperson, let's go ahead and set up a final call here to discuss the resolution of that issue and then make a decision at that point if you're comfortable with moving forward. Is that fair? Yes. So we put it on the calendar right there on the spot. So what I did is I tied down, this is the one issue remaining. I tied down that you're comfortable other than that. And I tied down, here's the next time, place, all that type of stuff that we're going to get back together and we're going to close this damn deal. Assuming that I can answer your question to your satisfaction. Okay? And that's how I handle that. Nice and easy. Okay? AT says, I'm going to go with your suggestion of use-based pricing at $297, $497, $697. Awesome. If a customer, wants me to manage their Facebook and Google ads with unpacks, what do you suggest I charge them? So, AT, I would, first of all, just make sure that you are positioning what you're doing for them with those ads and with unpacks as much as possible as a system and not so much a management service. Okay? So that's the first thing, is to set expectations about here's exactly what we're selling and delivering. What I mean by that is, let's say it's a typical small business, AT. I'm going to assume that you're dealing with some typical small businesses. They don't have big advertising budgets. Let's say that they can spend $1,000 a month on advertising. Okay. In that conversation, I would say, well, hey, AT, as what's your expected monthly advertising budget? $1,000. I'd say, well, as you may have come across, an ad management service oftentimes starts at $1,500 a month or $2,500 a month just in the management fee. And that's because you've got some experienced ad manager who's taking their time every day to create campaigns for you, manage campaigns for you, review the data, make adjustments, things like that. That typically really only makes sense for businesses that are spending, multiple tens of thousands of dollars a month to be able to justify that expense in their budget. So what we found is best for our customers that typically have budgets more like yours is that we have set up an advertising system that is a best practices system. And what I mean by that is we have created ads that are based on best practices, landing pages that are based on best practices, and campaign structures that are based on best practices. And we have those all set up in the system ready to go for you. So you can take your budget and you can apply it to that system at whatever budget is comfortable for you. We charge $297 a month for access to the system. And what you're getting for that $297 is you're getting all those best practices. We are constantly studying in the industry what's working, what's not, and we are upgrading that system with those best practices over time. We also have a lot of built-in capability using AI and automation in that system so that it's automatically looking for any low-performing ads and adjusting them or turning them off to save you budget, and looking for high-performing ads and putting extra budget into those to make sure that you're getting the best results. Doing all of that without the labor of a smart campaign manager sitting there, so that we're able to keep those costs way, way, way down and still give you the majority of the benefits of a seasoned manager. Okay, that's the pitch. So that way, what you can sell them is access to that system. And I like that $297 a month price point. And you turn on the campaigns and they put in whatever budget they want. They're in total control of that. They can do 500 this month, 1,000 next month, based on whatever their budget is. And it doesn't impact what you're doing or what you're getting from them, which is $297 a month. And that way you still have this very, very nice scalable systems-based service versus doing ad management for small businesses, which is a thankless nightmare of a job. Yeah, absolutely. And I love it. Doing one-on-ones, and the best way to do is give away training content and let them sign up for a niche. It seems most are using demos. If I show a demo and video, why do another call? I think, Ed, in my experience, you can absolutely do that. And certainly with your experience and your knowledge of marketing and knowledge of your industry and all that type of stuff, you can get a long way with what you're talking about setting up. You will, as you know, you will sell more if you have an option to bring a human into that sales process at some point, even if it's just an option, even if it's just a web chat widget so somebody can answer questions, something like that. You do not have to ultimately do those one-on-one demos. No, the answer is no, you do not have to. The answer is also you will sell more if you do have that at least as an option, because some people will want it. But here's the deal also, Ed, the more you're in your industry, the more you have credibility in your industry, the more content you're putting out, which you do all of those things at high volume, the more people are going to be comfortable with saying, oh, Ed says to use this, I'm going to sign up for it, right? So that becomes easier and easier and easier with that proven track record. So yes, you can do that. And, the caveats of you may, especially in the early days of figuring out the exact process and stuff, want to have some more option for human engagement to make sure you're taking full advantage of all of your opportunities. Can you show us some of your successful case studies from HLA course? Really need specific cases to look at plus inspiration about offer, not just theory and course, please. No. No. For a couple of reasons. One, I'm not going to reveal my customers' businesses and how they're doing, what they're doing with specifics for publicly for anybody to go and copy. I'm sure my customers would not like that. Two, man, I understand that you want inspiration. If you want inspiration, go to HighLevel's list of businesses that have won awards, right? HighLevel publishes all of their businesses that have won their awards, their SaaSpreneur awards and stuff like that. Go look at those. Those are all people that have publicly revealed themselves. Go look at all those businesses and pop them open and get your inspiration. Okay. Another thing is, man, I'm very, very, very careful not to sell what I'm providing to you as any sort of, magic answer that just because somebody else did it, you're going to be able to do it. I'm just not like you. If you're going to be an entrepreneur starting a business, you've got to take the good stuff from my stuff, take the good stuff from any place else that you learn, and you've got to be just pig-headed and go for it. And there's not going to be any, easy answer that's going to say this is the way to do it. I have worked in this space for a damn long time. I have a very loyal, long-term customer base. I have guys who have been using the R4 sales system for 10 plus years now, have multi-million-dollar agencies. Josh Nelson, one of the most successful trainers in this space, was at my very first sales boot camp when he was doing $30,000 a month, and worked with him as he grew that business, and he's an incredible success story. All kinds of great people in the industry that I've worked with and trained at some point or another, and they've all gotten valuable stuff from other people in the industry as well. And I mean, that's just kind of the way it works. So I stand by my stuff. I come here, answer all the questions. I offer money back guarantees, all that type of stuff. So that's how I provide the proof. Okay. Let's see here. Some of the guys in my country selling Go HighLevel for $40, $100 a month. He sold greater than 300 sub accounts now. Any suggestion for competitive strategy? Yes, Min. You want to make sure that you are not just selling HighLevel. Okay. You want to make sure that you are selling a system. That system can be based on HighLevel. Okay. But you don't want to be just selling HighLevel. And those people should not be selling HighLevel for $40 to $100 a month. If they are, they're actually breaking the terms of service of HighLevel. So you want to sell your own proprietary system. So in other words, I'm selling the R4 prospecting system, and that R4 prospecting system has all of these benefits and stuff. One of them is that you get access to these tools, and those tools are the R4 prospecting system tools because I've white labeled them and they're not HighLevel. Now, if a customer asks, is that based on HighLevel? Yes, it is. You don't have to try and hide that. But the biggest mistake that you can make is just try and go out and sell the tools, right? Because now you just look exactly like everybody else who's out there just selling the tools. You're not differentiated in any way. Okay. How do I give a client access to the websites we've built if we part ways? Can I export the website code and put it on WordPress, or would I be able to transfer the site to a separate Go HighLevel account? Yes is the answer to both of those. And working with HighLevel and their team is the best way to accomplish that. I know on the WordPress side in particular, they're building much more full like WordPress management tools to allow you to do whatever the heck you want with that site, just like any other kind of hosting environment. For the HighLevel websites themselves, I think it's more of a traditional like exporting HTML, type of thing, and then having somebody just rebuild it with that HTML. But that being said, working with HighLevel and their support is the easiest way to do that for now. Is the R6 going to be an upgrade? It's going to be included, Greg. If you're one of my customers, you're going to get it at no additional cost. Okay. Where to find better funnels, snapshot to buy? That is a very vague question. So I can't really help you there other than to say there's lots of people in the marketplace selling them. Extendly has them. HL Pro Tools have them. But I also stress to people that the best funnel and snapshot is the one that you build for the specific needs of your customer. It's always there's again, just as I mentioned before, there's no like magic snapshot. People put too much emphasis on thinking that they're going to buy a snapshot and then all of a sudden things are just going to work. Even with the snapshot that I'm going to give you with the R6, it's fully loaded, but that R6 is going to need to be, you're going to go through it and use what you need to use for your customers to make it make sense. Okay. Absolutely, Tobias. What is the long-term strategy to sell Go high-level based systems when there will be more cheaper guys? This is the one I answered earlier, right? Sell your proprietary system, your branding, your messaging. You're not selling high level. Okay. How do we access unpacks for paid search training demos? Rick, not sure I entirely understand, but if you just go to unpacks, and UpX does a ton of support calls like this, these office hours types calls. They do them very regularly. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what you mean. On your spot, have questions, book a quick call. Yep, exactly. Awesome, Alexandra. Maybe we come from a point of fear, but do you think the marketing agency market is oversaturated or too late? No, I don't, AJ. I do not. I mean, I work with small businesses all day, every day, and I would still say that 95% of them that I work with are just glaringly underutilizing any sort of smart marketing systems and strategies. No, I think it's still quite wide open. Now, I think that HighLevel has changed the game in this industry with small businesses entirely. And the way that impacts you and how you think about this market is that once I have a business on my system using it, putting their customer data in it every day, their employees are using it every day, getting away from that is difficult, which is awesome for me as a service provider because I'm going to have those customers for years. But it's terrible for my competition. If I lock up those accounts, it's going to be hard for you to pull them out of my service and into your service. Okay. So is there going to be this land grab that happens that's going to be more and more difficult to then grab your piece of land? Yes, absolutely. And that's why I tell everybody, if you're interested in this space, you need to jump into it with both feet right now and go. Put the blinders on and go for the next 3 years or so, because you'll build up a really nice lifestyle business that will be a great asset to have. If you jump into this business 3 years from now, it's going to be much more difficult for sure. Because me and everybody else, we're out there grabbing customers. So you want to do it now for sure. Daryl, would you like to come on? How are you, sir?
Mike, what's going on?
Not much. How you doing?
You can hear me. Excellent.
I hear you. Absolutely.
Hey, I just want to say one thing that, Bob Iger in his book talked about inflection points.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When he was doing Disney and he went from ABC to Disney and all that. And I just want to tell you that in all my years, you are the one person who pushed on us to read the E-Myth. And dude, that one book tied probably 30, 35 years of my career together.
That's awesome.
I never looked at it in that point, like from that point of Michael Gerber. So
that's awesome. Well, I wish I could take credit for having written it, but at least I can pass it on.
My God. And that's the thing. Like, how many people don't talk about it, but they hint, like, once you read it, I don't know if you've come across this, Mike, but once you read something that somebody talks about and it's like the basics, you see that everybody else just copies the same damn thing. They just repackage it their own way.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
absolutely.
So anyway, like listening to you for the past couple of weeks since I've read that book, I hear you differently.
That's cool.
I don't know if anybody like heard that. Like I hear what you say differently because that's when you say systems now, I don't hear go high level anymore.
Yeah. Good. That's fantastic, man. I wish everybody would hear that right there. Go read that damn book. Understand systems versus the tools of Go High Level. Go High Level is an amazing set of tools that allows us to implement the concepts of systems in a much more easy, efficient, profitable way for small businesses, but they're independent concepts. And the more that you get that, the easier this all becomes. And the more that you realize you're not selling high level. And to answer the questions that have been coming in about how do I differentiate myself from other people selling high level? You don't sell high level. You sell the systems and strategies that allow businesses to be successful. High level is the set of tools that you're using to implement those solutions. That's it.
Yeah. And by the way, what you're just saying, and I'm listening to everything you're saying and everybody you're talking to, I came across this lady called April Dunford. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. She's like a brand and positioning. She worked in the old days back when databases were first coming out, when Salesforce was tiny. And so she was the marketing, she was the VP of marketing back then. And now she's like a big brand positioning person. And just like you're saying, Mike, she always talks about, we have to answer 3 questions when we hit the page. What is the thing, right? So when a customer sees us or hits it, like, what is the thing? What's the value we can deliver that nobody else can? And so if everybody else is offering go high level, what can, that's what you keep hitting on, man. You keep saying, you're like, what is the offer you bring? Because it can't be go high level.
That's right.
And then it's like, then the other question we have to answer is this for me?
Yeah.
So my question, I do have 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
So first off, I just want to say, because you damaged me with that book in a good way. Right? And when I say damaged, you broke me out of that way of thinking I had before. I don't no longer want to build a lifestyle business. I actually want to build a business, like a company, right?
That's
Especially
cool.
once I started following like Ken Goodrich and all those other people, I was like, holy crap. And it really got me, because I told you I'm going after the home service industry.
Yeah.
And so I kind of see what these guys are doing, because one of the people I run up against is Service Titan. And now I completely, like, dude, after reading that book, I'm like, I can hit him like point blank, because I'm like, great, but this isn't dispatching software. This is one of the 2 most important, this is 2 of the most important systems out of the 3 you need, right? Sales, like lead generation, sales conversion, and fulfillment.
Yeah.
Like, we don't do dispatching.
Yep.
So
that's awesome.
2 things as I'm building out the website. And I'm just curious if you ran into this one. I would like to use the pricing table that Stripe uses in their back end, but I don't know if you're familiar with that. Like, if you go into the dashboard of Stripe, no,
I'm not. I'll check it out though.
I can. Yeah. Let me see. Could I actually show you on my screen?
Yeah.
So let me see. Screen share screen. And then I can do window. So let me do this. All right. So I'll share this with you. Can you see this right here?
Yep. Nice.
So this is in my Stripe account.
Okay.
And if you go back there, you can create a pricing table within Stripe. So everybody who's using Go High Level, if you're using the SaaS mode, most likely you have it tied into Stripe.
Yep.
And this is within Stripe.
Yep.
So we have to create all the products and Go High Level, and then it integrates into Stripe. So I didn't create these in Stripe. This is what Stripe is pulling from Go High Level.
Yep. Cool.
So as you can see, Mike, these are the way I've set up this is what I'm naming these different packages. So I'm selling a communication system. That actually it shouldn't say premium. It should say marketing, and the sales and marketing. And the reason I'm curious about this, if anybody's done it, because it automatically does the monthly and yearly, and you can just integrate this onto your website.
Oh, you can. Cool.
Yeah, but my whole thing is, I don't know because I may get the payment, but I don't know now if this is going to create the account and Go High Level. So that's the only reason I'm curious if you've done that before. You see what I mean? Because you can do the whole thing.
You could, I believe, set up a workflow so that it will create the account in High Level.
And the reason I'm asking you is because I did go and search in the Facebook group, and I didn't find much there. I saw a lot of people asking with not a lot of answers. So
yeah, you'd have to check. Yeah, you'd have to check with High Level on this one. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure, like the actual account
I'll do
creation.
That.
Yeah.
Let me do that, Mike. Let me do that. I'll actually just jump on the customer service later today. So, cool. I mean, as you can see, this is all right in Stripe, though.
Yeah.
They give you the code and everything.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, wow, if we can actually do this, that is, like you said, you can do the yearly right here.
Yeah.
So
that's
anyway, I want to know if you've done that. And then the second thing I want to ask you is really, again, I'm looking at systems differently now. I don't look at them as go high level. So you've been doing this for a long time. I'm curious because today I have my manager hat on, not my technician or CEO.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you keep the customers on? Do you have a system where, do you have a process where a team of yours for either of your companies reaches out to your customers once a month to handle or ask about technical difficulties to reduce churn? Like how do you handle that as far as a system, a process?
Yeah. So we've always done quarterly business reviews. So quarterly business reviews are just for most accounts, it's just a super quick call where it's, hey, we're just checking in. Want to see how things are going, any questions, any feedback, anything that we can do to help you. It's also then the perfect opportunity to upsell. You can say, hey, we've got these new capabilities that have come out. We'd love to introduce you to them, that type of thing. And that just, becomes just a routine that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then just consistent outbound messaging to your customers about things like your office hours calls and stuff like that, making sure that people know that you're available. They can come and join you and ask questions, that type of thing, get more training, any training sessions as opposed to office hours calls, like my boot camps. Maybe you set up a training session that's a once every other week that you're covering specific topics and inviting them to that, stuff like that. So it's just touch points like that. But the quarterly business reviews are the things that are the like real consistent, I guess, like from an account management perspective.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then I would say, we talked about this in some of these previous conversations where I've always empowered my team to be like a coach. And we use that messaging with our customers. So when they sign up, we say, hey, look, what we have found is that with most of our customers, we're gonna ask you to start doing some new things and thinking about your business in some different ways than you have in the past. And that's part of why you're hiring us. You're trying to have some breakthroughs. And what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to use these systems to achieve some of those breakthroughs. But what we've found is that just like any change in your life, there can be some resistance to that. And so what I'm asking your permission to do is to be, to some degree or another, your coach. And just like any good coach will, to reach out to you every once in a while and give you a little kick in the butt if you need it, to make sure that you're actually following through on the things that you want to follow through on to achieve your goals with these systems. And asking for permission, getting that permission to do that. Because then if you look into your systems and you see, hey, my customer isn't actually doing, they're not using the things, they're not doing the things, you want to reach out to them proactively and give them that kick in the pants, because the way customers churn, most customers, is that they just don't use it. If they don't use it, they don't get the value. And if they don't get the value, at some point or another, they're going to cancel. So having that ability to proactively reach out to them and say, hey, it looks like you're not, following up on these leads. Like, we're doing our part. We got the systems in place. But right here, we can see somebody's asking you a question and nobody's responding. Why is that? What do we need to do to make sure that you guys are in there, doing this stuff, right?
That's so funny you say that, because that's exactly how I so this, I think it was Min or somebody was asking you all these questions about like, how do you differentiate and all that? And Mike, this is how I moved from maybe a month and a half ago, I was kind of doing the agency model. And so I brought in a 3-month time, 168 like solid leads to a company. And I'm like, what is going on? They're not calling back, all this. So then you said, read the E-Myth. I read this book. I'm like, oh my God, that's the power of McDonald's. I'm like, these guys. So as an agency, if the company you're working with doesn't have a sales system, not software, doesn't have a system for calling back the leads, for using consistent language, like a system, I was like, I literally went into their system, called back on behalf of the company, and every person signed up. And I was like, you're just not calling.
Right.
So then that's when I realized,
the job. Yeah.
Yeah. That's when I realized, I was like, so after reading that book, and Michael Gerber's like, it's systems, people are technicians doing a job. I was like, if most of the majority of small businesses fail because they don't have systems, then be the company that offers them the systems, not go high level, but the systems. Correct. So that's what I'm doing now. And that's why I started looking at like Service Titan and all these, because I'm like, these small businesses and the home services need to be set up like systems. So, dude, that's exactly how I got into it. I'm like, I'm bringing in all these leads, and I'm like, y'all ain't calling them.
Yep.
So for the people earlier, sometimes you fall into the problem. Like you can't figure out the problem until you start doing it. And then you see a different problem. And that's what I saw. I'm like, these guys have no sales systems.
Yep.
Like none.
Nothing beats getting your hands dirty.
Oh my God. So anyway, that's what I'll do. And just one other question for your restaurants. Do you do the weekly calls with them or does your team, or do you really just do the quarterly business calls with those businesses?
Quarterly business calls. And with most like the businesses on the smaller side, it ends up once you get them into actually using the systems, oftentimes those calls don't even happen. Like it oftentimes is like it because it's an email scheduling them, trying to schedule them in advance. Mm-hmm. And in that email, hey, it's Mike reaching out. We see it's time for your next quarterly business review. Here's what we want to cover in a quick call with you. Here's where you can go to schedule it. And you're going to get a response back from them going, hey, you know what? Appreciate it, but we really don't have anything that we need to cover. Everything's going great. No need for the call. You're going to get a ton of that.
Okay.
Which is fine. They're using the system. Hey, I don't want to tie up my time getting on a call with you. Like everything's good. So,
and in your experience, when they first sign up, do you find that you should suspend their accounts and let them do an onboarding call with you or your team first, or do you give them instant access to the system?
No way. Never give them instant access to the system.
Okay.
No,
that's what I was thinking.
I make sure that everything is set up for them, and then we do an onboarding call, and then they get access to the system.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. That's it, brother. Thank you for I've taken up enough time. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Very helpful.
Appreciate you. Good to see you here. Jason, you ready, sir? Awesome. How you doing?
Good, Mike. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, cool. So sorry I had to step away, but so very quickly on Wednesday, I had this meeting with a prospect. It was actually an introduction from a friend that she's doing some social media marketing for them, but she's not doing this like additional marketing stuff. And so over the weekend, went over the R6 stuff, memorized it, drilled it into my head, and actually like got a whiteboard out there in the meeting, drew it out for them. Everybody's like, oh, okay. And so it was cool. It was really cool to have that framework. And just like, instead of saying just like, oh, marketing this, that, or the other trends or, fads, vanity metrics, it was very just like specific. And then from that template, then I started integrating stuff about what we had spoken about with their business and whatnot. And first time I stumbled a few times, but whatever, like it was a good first time with it.
Good. I love it.
So thank you for that. I think what I wasn't quite clear on was sort of like the transitioning to a close, and like with them, they had to go talk to their higher ups and whatnot. So I wasn't expecting to close right there. But then like, how do you manage that conversation where either you think you're closing in that particular meeting because of whatever precedent, or you're closing in a future meeting? Like how do you manage that conversation?
Yeah, cool. So I went through this at pretty good length earlier and answered your question.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So I'm gonna give you the summary now, but I'm gonna say go back to that to get all the details.
Yes.
But the summary is, if you've had that good conversation the entire way, you're setting expectations, you're asking questions, you're asking if they still have any open questions or anything like that. If you do that, then at the end of the conversation, it's a very natural, well, it seems like this, could be a good fit to work together to accomplish your goals. Do you agree? They say yes. I had these couple of major questions that you came up with during the conversation that I needed to address, and I believe I've addressed those successfully for you. Do you agree? Yes. Great. Well, it seems like it's a good fit to work together. When would you like to get started? And that's all I do. Just nice, easy, no pressure, high confidence. Like, hey, we just had a good conversation. If you follow my scripts, we had upfront contracts in the beginning. You already know the prices.
Yeah.
You already know generally how we work, what we do, what we don't do, all that good stuff. And I answered all your questions. So at the end, it's just a nice high confidence close. When would you like to get started? And in the majority of cases, the answer is, oh yeah, let me pull up the calendar. Let's see what, next week, blah, blah. Yeah, great. It seems like this date would work. Would that work for you? Yeah, sounds good. And it's that simple. So if you get to that point and they go, well, no, there's still this outstanding issue, or we need to talk to these people, or whatever it is, that's when we do what's called the tie down. And the tie down is, okay, it's this issue. Yes. Is there any other issue? No. So if I address that issue successfully, does it seem like we're good to go? Yes. Great. Let's go ahead and set up our next call to get back together. I will have done my research to make sure that I can address that issue. We'll address it on that call. And if it's to your satisfaction, we'll be good to move forward then, right? Yep. Awesome. So we put it on the calendar. If it's somebody else that they need to go talk to, ideally, you would have not gotten into that call without having those people involved in the first place. But I understand that happens. What I would try and do in that scenario, hey, look, I understand you need to go talk to your bosses or your partners or whatever it is. Usually I found that the most successful way to do that, so that you're not wasting, their time or your time trying to repeat yourself or answer questions that maybe you don't know the answers to completely. If you'd like me to join in that conversation, I'm happy to. Okay. Why don't we just go ahead and schedule another conversation and bring them in? And I'm happy to answer any questions that, that they'll have. Like that way you can kind of take control of the process. You always want to control the process as much as possible.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. And so then at the beginning, you're laying out that contract, like here's my price range. Yep. But then at the end, when you've finished sort of the presentation, if you will, wrapping it up, do you, based on your suggestion, do you then say like, okay, I think this is the plan? Like supposing that you have 3 plans,
yep.
Right? Like, do you say like, okay, I think that you fit best in this one.
Yep.
Do you want to move forward? Is that kind of...
Yeah, that's exactly it. If I have 3 plans that say, yeah, based on the conversation, based on the goals that you outlined in our conversation, I think that this is the right plan for you. Do you agree? Do you have any questions about that? Yep. That's straightforward.
And then I think I saw somewhere that you are like, you don't support like proposals, or just, if somebody says like, oh, can you put this in writing or something like that?
Well, it's not that I don't. So proposals in the old world definition of it meant I go back to my office, I spend hours putting together some pretty long document where I detail all these things for them. I never, ever, ever, ever do that. I do proposals in HighLevel, like for their San Diego all the time. But I can show you a proposal in their San Diego is just, it's got this intro couple of paragraphs of text that are boilerplate. I'll jump in there and just say, hey, the conversation we had the other day, you mentioned these things. So that's why I've chose these, products for your, services. And then it's just the drop-down menus to choose your plans from HighLevel in there. And then that proposal goes out the door. The nice thing is when that goes out the door, I've got it set up through HighLevel so that it's automatically attached to a nice proposal email. So when they get the email, it looks like this nice professional, like marketing thing that I put together. And they click on that, and then it just takes them to the proposal that I've put together that, like I said, it's just super boilerplate. And that's it. There's zero time spent, doing anything real custom or pretty for them.
Okay. That's helpful.
And is that in the... Oh, I'm sorry. And I would just say, I would never do that until I've got them to the point where they've essentially said that they're buying. So like if I have a sales conversation with them and they go, yeah, this all sounds good. Can we get a proposal? And I'll say, sure, yeah, I'm happy to send you something in writing just so you're good to go. But then I still close them. Like assuming I get all that over to you, or you're ready to get started. Sure. Like I still do the close because I don't want to waste my time with paperwork that's not necessary. I still take that same approach, but then I'll just put together the quick document, fire it off to them, and that's it.
Gotcha. Okay. I didn't think about that. Is that an R4? Do you have a template of the, I guess like that sequence of events? Like if they choose the plan or no?
I don't, just because that just rolled out in HighLevel, like in the last month.
I see.
And I've been using it extensively for the last month. And so I feel like I was going to say, I feel like I have a real good handle on it. Then like last week, HighLevel did an upgrade of it, and it like completely hammered my process for a couple of days. I was like, oh geez, like what just happened? Right. But I understand it now. I've got it back working now. So I will absolutely share that here real soon.
Sure. No worries.
It's real nice. HighLevel's done an excellent job with it. Honestly, it's really nice. Like you can put together proposals, invoices automatically. They look real professional. It's got the digital signature. It's got the automatic payment, everything. So it's super nice. They've done an excellent job.
Great. All right, I'll check it out. Last thing, I got my tickets for October, so hopefully catch up and shake hands and meet you in person.
Of course. I look forward to it.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. All right, let's see here. There you go. Love it. AJ, how do I sign up as an affiliate to get your benefits? You could just upgrade through me. Since I see you already have an account, you could just upgrade through me, AJ. If you just get on my website and hit the chat widget, I'll get you that upgrade link. Okay. Darren says it will create the account automatically. It looks like going through Stripe. Cool. It says, are you finding that running ads to content marketing is the best way to build your tribe? Yep. Absolutely. And Ed, for me right now, YouTube is awesome. Obviously, I think it depends on kind of the niche that you're going after. But YouTube's fantastic. For customer training, do you suggest pre-recording training or recording the onboarding call? Both, AT. So I would record the onboarding call for sure. I love, what's the name of this service I'm using now? It's one of the automatic AI plugins that anytime I do a Zoom meeting or anything like that, it automatically goes in, records it, transcribes it, puts it in a nice summary. It does a really, really nice job. It's called Fathom, Fathom. So I've started using that for all my calls because it does such a good job of automatically putting together, like, here's the major points that were covered. Here were all the questions that were asked and their answers. And it hops them right to the recording and the video at each of those spots. I mean, it's exactly what you would want AI to do, right? So yes, AT, absolutely. So I'm using that. So I highly recommend that. Now, just after every meeting, I just automatically fire them that Fathom link and I know I'm good, which is such a huge benefit. But then in general, you want to pre-record training that you're putting into a membership site for your customers. Right? Just like if you sign up for HighLevel through me and you get access to my membership courses and you've got a bunch of training in there, you want to do the equivalent of that for your customers. Obviously, it doesn't have to be as extensive as all the stuff I built in there, but for the major capabilities of your system, the major features of your system and how to use them, make sure that you've got all that pre-recorded in a membership for them. That's going to save you a ton of support time, one, and two, it's going to make your customers feel like, okay, I can get up and running on this, as easily as possible. Okay. What's happening in October? In October, it is the annual HighLevel Summit in Dallas, Texas. It's a fantastic event, best event in the industry. Highly, highly recommend. Everybody that can go goes. It's not the cheapest thing in the world, but it is totally first class. And you will get so much ROI out of it. Just in terms of the relationships that you're going to have from that and the insights that you're going to get from those relationships. It's so incredibly valuable. I would not miss it. If you're in this industry and you miss it, I think you're making a big, big mistake. Do I recommend charging a setup fee? Yes, Caitlin. So if you get the opportunity to go through my training program on the R4 Surge to SaaS is what I call it. The Surge is the initial work that you're doing to get them set up on the system successfully, and you are charging for that Surge. Okay, so the Surge it's the setup fee, but you're pitching it with a little more oomph than just a setup fee. But yes, it is. It is, in my opinion, you should always absolutely pitch an upfront fee. And then the way I teach you to sell is that there are three possible closes. Okay, one, they pay the upfront setup fee in cash, and then they start paying monthly for their service. Okay. Two, they prepay for everything for the year, including that setup fee, and get a discount. Or three, they say, oh, I can't really afford that setup fee, but I really want your services. And you say, no problem. If you agree to a 2-year deal, we'll finance that setup fee. Either way, you're winning, and you're presenting them with three options. where you are capturing the value of that setup fee either way. But you're giving them flexibility as to how they pay, so that if they have a bunch of cash and they can afford the discount, awesome. If they don't have any cash or they're thin on cash, then you give them the option to pay over time, but you lock them into an agreement for that flexibility, right? You always want to get something in business, not necessarily in your personal lives. In business, when you're negotiating, you want to get when you give. So if I'm giving you the flexibility of waiving this upfront fee, that's work I have to do at my expense. I'm taking a risk. For that risk, I want a 2-year agreement with you that you're going to stay as a customer. That's fair, right? So you're just giving people those options though. But that setup fee is a super important way of recapturing, I should say, your cost to acquire that customer. You did sales and marketing to acquire that customer. That gives you some upfront cash to get that money back. It also gives you some peace of mind that you have some cash to invest in doing a proper setup of their account without feeling like it's so thin financially that you can't do it right? If somebody comes on, like, you hear me say, hey, charge $297 for your introductory plan. Well, if somebody just comes and spends $297 with you and you feel like, oh, geez, I got to set up the snapshot right and customize it and all that type of stuff. For $297, you might be thinking, Jesus, Mike, like I don't have enough money to spend that time to do a good job doing that, right? But if you get $1,500 up front and the $297, now you feel like, okay, I got a little bit of cash. I can take a little bit of time here to set this thing up right. So you don't have that pressure. It just creates a healthier environment for you and your business. Okay. So yes, you should absolutely do that. Okay. Are you waiving the fee with the 2-year contract or dividing it out over the term? You can do either one, Caitlin, honestly. And I think that that's really up to you in terms of like how you've built in your margins of your service. I would have no problem in almost all cases just waiving it, just saying, hey, look, I understand that upfront fee. It's a little hard to come cash out of pocket for that right now. If you will agree to a 2-year term with our services so that we know that we're going to have the consistency of you as a customer over the next 2 years, we'll go ahead and eat that fee. In most cases, I would have no problem with that, using that as my negotiation point because I got a 2-year customer locked in now. But you could say, we'll reduce it by 50%. Or you could say, we'll finance it over the course of the first year. So we'll take that $5,000 and we'll, break it up. You could do either approach. Obviously, the most attractive approach for them is if you say that we'll just waive the fee. Up to you though. Okay. Give me 1 second, gang. I will be right back. I take a little cold break again real quick. All right, a couple more questions here real quick. Alexander, do I share contracts in my program? I don't, just because I'm not a lawyer and I don't want to have anything to do with, somebody coming at me and saying, oh, I used this contract and got sued or something like that. Now I'm coming after you because you gave me a junk contract. So no, I don't. You're waiving the fee with the 2-year contract. Oh yeah, sorry, answer that one. That makes so much sense. Awesome. Yeah, so Caitlin, the average cost to acquire a new customer is between $1,500 and $2,500 a month. I mean, $1,500, and $2,500 one time. Those are rough numbers, okay, but it's a decent ballpark guideline to work with. So in other words, what you are going to invest in sales and marketing costs to get a new customer, let's just call it $2,500. So if you had a salesperson, or let's say you're the salesperson, and all of your marketing is just organic marketing, you're not spending any, paid marketing, and you close 4 customers this month, and you make $10,000 a month. Well, then $10,000 a month divided by those 4 customers is $2,500 each. It costs you $2,500 to get you each of those customers, right? If you then did some paid marketing on top of that, let's say you spend another $5,000 in paid advertising, you would add that. So it'd be $10,000 plus the $5,000 divided by however many customers you got. Maybe in that case, you got 5 customers or 6 customers. So you divide out the numbers, and that cost per customer would, theoretically come down a little bit then. So that is how you determine your cost of sales and marketing. I want to make sure that my setup fee is capturing as much of that as I possibly can, because that fuels your ability to grow your business much faster. If you are capturing that upfront, okay, so let's say it's $2,500 and you're capturing that upfront $2,500, that's now $2,500 that you can invest immediately back into growth, okay? Versus, let's say you don't capture that $2,500 and a customer is paying you $497 a month. Think about how many months it takes for you to recapture that $2,500 setup fee, right? Even if your margins were like 80% on your $497, you're talking 6 months before you recoup that fee, recoup that investment into sales and marketing. So that's a dramatic change for your business. So I'm always aiming to try and get that $1,500 for like a small, faster setup service, faster to market, faster to sell, $2,500 for $2,500 at least for a service that is a little more complex, a little bit harder to sell, took a little more time to do the sales and marketing, that type of thing. Then I'm looking for $2,500, even, $2,500, $5,000, that type of thing. And one thing I like to point out, because people get freaked out, Mike, small businesses aren't going to pay that, you're going to make it too hard to sell and yada, yada. And let's go over to HubSpot's website real quick, because I want to make sure that everybody understands that the leader in selling, software and stuff to small businesses. Go look at their service plans, and what do you see right there on their website? Scroll down, and what does it say? Cost shown does not include the required one-time professional onboarding fee of $3,000. Cost shown does not include the required one-time enterprise onboarding fee of $7,000. They just put it right smack dab on their website and tell you, hey, you're going to be paying $3,000 or $7,000 up front. Okay. If you read the book from the original head of sales and marketing for HubSpot, he talks about how that fee became a critical driver of success and growth at their business for 2 reasons. One, because it then forced them to professionalize their onboarding. Okay, how you onboard your customers is one of the greatest factors in how long those customers are going to stay with you. You have that first 30 days to make a great impression and make them feel confident that they made the right decision to work with you, or else they're already looking for the exits, okay? If you nail it in that first 30 days, they're with you for years. So that onboarding process, how you treat that, how you set them up, how you educate them, how you support them in that first 30 days needs to be professionalized. And when you're getting a $3,000 or a $5,000 or a $7,000 fee up front, you're going to professionalize it, right? Versus if you just got $497, you're like, oh, I don't have time for this, right? So it forces you to do that. Second, it forces commitment from the customer. And the number one factor in retention and success of a customer coming onto your system is their mindset. Are they committed to this? Are they going to make it work? When you charge that upfront fee and they pay that upfront fee, they're committed. They have skin in the game, right? So it is critical for the success on all fronts, from paying for your sales and marketing, from getting better customers, from onboarding them successfully, from making them feel bought into achieving their goals. All of that is improved when you charge an upfront setup fee. So you have got to be comfortable, confident in doing that. Okay. And Caitlin, specifically what's included in all that, I outline that in my training program again. So if you get into high leverage agency through me, that's the best way to get like the details on how I suggest that you approach that. Okay. You could only go to one. Would you recommend the Level Up Summit or SaaSpreneur Mastermind? Level Up Summit for sure. Much bigger, more in-depth event. For my upfront fee, I'm considering $997 for the setup of just the system, or $29.97 if they don't have a website. Cool. I don't think that that's bad at all. Awesome. Yeah, it's a lot, Caitlin. So good. Come to these calls and make sure you ask questions so I can help. Awesome. Look, everybody, I had a call that started 5 minutes ago, so I got to jump. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of the community and for your business. I appreciate it as always. I hope you got good value out of the call, and we will see you on a future office hours call and see you in the community. I hope in between now and then, go into our circle group, ask questions there, and I will address them in between these calls. Okay. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next office hours. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and get out there and get after it. We'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.